Hare Krishna, you want to engage your kids in Krishna consciousness? I pray for you. Really, you're doing a great service. Thank you so much. And the earlier you can engage your kids in Krishna consciousness, the better you are going to set them up for a really good life. Within their spiritual life, you're going to instill those habits at a young age. It's such a great service that you're doing. So thank you so much. Before we dive into it, I do invite you to hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, get notified. I'm doing 2 new videos at least every single week to keep you inspired, uplifted, and growing, both in spiritual as well as your material endeavors. This channel is really meant for householders and everyday people who are instilling Krishna consciousness into their lives. All right, let's dive into it. Okay, so you're endeavoring to engage your kids into Krishna consciousness. No easy endeavor, especially in this world. There's so many distractions. If your kids are probably growing up in environments like me, but even more distracted. So I didn't grow up in an ashram. I didn't grow up in a devotee family. I grew up actually in the Christian tradition, Catholic tradition. We went to church. I've got good values. I've got a good home. But we weren't practicing any type of spiritual life, not even in the Christian sense. So I get how difficult it can be now to instill a spiritual life, because most of our lives, especially our children growing up, are so inundated in material activity, meaning the only thing they know is how to please their senses. So, that's why when you try to take the iPhone away from the child's freaking out because they don't know how to do anything else. And that's a cultural thing that we need to shift. And inside of the Hare Krishna movement, we have the best opportunity in household life. We have the best opportunity to create the cultural shift that's needed to go back to simple living, high thinking. And you're doing the greatest service by endeavoring to engage your kids into that. So let's explore some ideas that you can do to engage your kids into Krishna consciousness. Well, remember, we've got to engage the senses. So let's go through the senses and pick an idea per sense. The first, I've got it written down here on my phone. The first is, let's engage your kids. An idea is arts and craft time. So arts and craft time, can be a time where your kids can now paint or draw pictures of Krishna. This is a great way to spend time together. You don't evaluate the greatness of their work, right? This is not art class. This is devotional time, meaning put a picture of Krishna up and say, can you draw it? Or can they depict their own pictures of Krishna? How did they see Krishna? Oftentimes we try to implement just the traditional ways, the traditional pictures that we have now, but we have to make room to allow the new generation to also contribute to the movement. So how are they going to contribute to the movement? By creating their own pictures, by seeing Krishna in scenarios and settings that might be relevant to them. That may mean it may look on the outside a bit different, but on the inside, the bhakti is there. So do some arts and craft time together. It's a great way to spend time together. It's a great way to engage your minds and your senses into Krishna consciousness. You'll paint for Krishna. You'll draw for Krishna. You'll celebrate those pictures. It's a beautiful time to spend together, and I think it can be a great way to get out in front of the TV and in front of Krishna. Okay, second, Kirtan. Use the time in the car together, put on a Kirtan, turn off the news, turn off CNN. We get it. There's bad things happening in the world always. Sometimes worse, sometimes, not so worse. All right, we got it. We don't need to spend all of our time looking at it. Let's spend our time doing some spiritual activities. And in our case, in the Hare Krishna movement, Sankirtan, congregational chanting. Allow your kids to explore the instruments that they want to explore. So we've got the traditional mridanga, the kartal, we've got the harmonium. Hey, do they want to bring a guitar? Do they want to bring a drum? Do they want to bring, a flute? Do they have some way? Remember that their ears aren't necessarily attuned the way your ears are attuned. They've grown up in different types of music. So they may want to worship Krishna, but they still want to feel like they're part of the rock scene, for instance. So in that sense, allow them to explore in that way. I know that goes against sometimes we feel like to hold true to just the core traditional ways. I'm not saying give up the traditional ways. No, let's keep the mridanga, let's keep the kartals, let's keep the tradition there. Let's keep the Vedic culture alive. And at the same time, we can allow exploration in it. What's really important is the spirit of bhakti. Are they doing it for Krishna? Let them play their guitar, let them play their drum or the instruments of their choice. And this way it feels and attunes to what they know. And then they'll be more accepting of the traditional ways as well and can still explore that too. So you can have your cake and eat it too. That's the beauty of Krishna consciousness. All right, thirdly, offer food. Offer food that they would enjoy. For instance, make a pizza together, no onions, no garlic, and then have them offer it. The way you engage anybody, whether a child or an adult, is by actually giving them responsibility and then allowing them some freedom with that responsibility. If you try to micromanage every single thing and you're like, oh no, you have to do it this way and you're doing this too wrong and that too wrong, they're just going to be, oh, forget it, I don't want to do it then. So what you want to do is say, okay, here's the how we offer prasadam, and let them offer their prasadam and give them the space to do it. Engage them in service. How you engage them is by giving them responsibility and then giving them freedom. And then every so often say, hey, can I offer you some advice to raise the standards? Let them pick food that they want to eat and engage them in the cooking of it. Right? You don't always have to prepare the same dishes. If you add a little variety based upon their suggestions, then now they're feeling like they're contributing to it, which they don't. It's not just a feeling. The reality is now they're contributing to it, and they'll start to develop the taste of service. Once they develop the taste of service, then they'll naturally, Krishna will bring them in. Naturally, Krishna is going to give them mercy and help you along the way. Third, read books. I really suggest reading the Krishna book. It's got all the great stories. It's got love. It's got tragedy. It's got politics. It's got demons. And Krishna is the center of it all. He's the center of the drama and the splendor and the fighting and all the glamour. This is not like reading mundane book because the person is focused on Krishna and they're seeing the qualities. Your kids are naturally going to be attracted to these stories, and it's your enthusiasm that sells the story. So read it with some enthusiasm, have some fun with it, act it out. My Guru Maharaj, Bhakti Marg Swami, he puts on Vedic plays all over the world, and it really engages people in Krishna because, it's all the costumes are beautiful. Put effort behind it. Try not to make it rigid or like homework, like, did you read your Krishna book? How many passages of Bhagavad Gita have you read today? If it feels like you're harping on them to do it, then they're not catching the spirit of bhakti and devotion. So you yourself be enthusiastic about it. Hey, let's read the Krishna book and read it with enthusiasm and have them share their realizations. Don't just impose your realizations on it. Say, what did you get out of it? And then let them openly share. Kids, when given an opportunity to share and to be of service, they will take it if it's done in the genuine spirit of bhakti. And lastly, chant japa together. Japa is the easiest ways to worship Krishna. It is the recommended way for us to worship Krishna outside of Sankirtan is japa. So do japa together by doing mantras together, picking a rhythm and synchronizing in that rhythm. You create a wonderful vibration between you and your children. You spiritualize your home and you instill that sound vibration into them at an early age. Look, I hope these help you out. If you've got your own ideas, share them below. The more we share, the better. I'd love to see what you're doing to engage your kids. If you've got questions about living in household life, or you've come up to a scenario and you're not sure how you can place Krishna in that scenario, leave it below. I'll be happy to do videos for you and answer your questions and do the best I can. Look, I'm not a pure devotee. I'm in household life. I'm, also got my own material stuff going on. But I do think that together we can make a massive difference inside of our movement and inside of the entire world. Why? Because most people are living in household life. So when we change our houses, into the temple, when we take to Krishna conscious activities, to spiritual life within the walls of our homes, we are making a massive difference in the fabric and culture in which we live in. We are literally spiritualizing the DNA of our culture and our society. And that is the biggest service to the movement and to Krishna. Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Namaste. Amen. Hare Krishna.